The guest of today's podcast episode, Bingo, has around 30 day game plays, most of which he got in one of the hardest day game cities in the US, San Francisco. I have quite a few very high-level day gamers in my circle, and I realized that they all had to go through very similar challenges to get where they are today. That's why I decided to interview some of them so you can see the journey they took, the challenges they faced, how they overcame each of them, and how did they end up to where they are today. Because as I said, they've had the same challenges to get where they are, and if you want to get the same results, you will have to go through the same steps. I coached Bingo several years ago, and while he did learn the fundamentals pretty fast, he did have to do a lot more work to really crack San Francisco and get to the level where he is. Actually, after interviewing him, I realized that he has learned things in such a step-by-step replicable way that I think it's worth doing a few more podcast episodes with him, specifically one looking at how he cracked texting so more of his numbers would convert to dates, and how he changed what he does on dates so more of the dates would end in his bedroom. So more episodes with Bingo to come. If this interview inspires you to learn day game faster, then well, join me on my next day game trip in January. I'm going to Mexico, one of my favorite places for day game because it's absolutely packed with tourists from USA, Canada, Europe, and of course full of Latinas. Many Argentines go there for work, and it's just a few-hour flight away from the US. And I have one of 2 coaching spots still left available there. There is a link in the description where you can learn everything about how coaching usually works and schedule a call to talk details. But if you want to improve your texting so more of your numbers end in dates, and you want to learn more about what to do on dates so more of your dates end in your bedroom, then head over to daygamecourses.com where you can get access to my free texting and dating guides. And now let's jump into the interview with Bingo, which as usual when I have guests on is audio only to preserve the privacy of my guests. Okay, Mr. Bingo in the Bay. Long time no see. We haven't done a podcast in a while, but today we're talking about something a little bit different. We're talking about you going from before we even met, we met years ago, to where you are right now. And right now, I would say you're an advanced day gamer. You're a proper advanced day gamer who really can get laid in one of the world's toughest day game cities. So, how are you? Where are you right now?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you, as always. Right now, I'm in Boston on a work trip, and I'm like really looking forward to going back to San Francisco. Believe it or not, it's a funny company. I'll tell you some stuff on the side later, actually.
San Francisco, one of the world, in my eyes, toughest day game cities. I don't know anyone who does so well as well in San Francisco as you do. But you had a very long journey to get there, to get to a level where you are getting laid with a very good open to lay ratio in the city stuff. So where do you want to start with your journey? Shall we start at the beginning and then slowly kind of go step by step to where you are right now and kind of looking at all the obstacles you had to overcome and etc.?
Yeah, I think honestly, starting at the beginning is the way to go. So I think it goes back quite a while. It's kind of interesting, actually. So I discovered the topic, probably, I remember I must have been like 20 years old when I discovered the topic. And I remember I just broken up with a girlfriend at the time, and this was hilarious. I was telling Mr. T this story, but I read this stuff for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then I go put on the nicest shirt I have. I looked like I was going to a fucking job interview for a lawyer. And I put on the nicest shoes, everything. I take the train downtown. I was in Vancouver at the time. And I'm like, man, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I actually did. So I did say hi to the first girl I saw. I still remember her name, everything. Of course, I won't say it here. I remember telling, it was so hard to say it. And then after I did, it was there was cotton in my mouth and I couldn't say anything else. I just froze like a deer in the headlights. But I was so happy. I remember that joy lasted hours. I thought I was the coolest guy in the world. Anyways, and at that time, I think I only did 5 sets that entire year. Every time I did it, it was taking a bump or something almost. And then I didn't do it again for a long time. I got a girlfriend. And that first one was really, really tough. After breaking up with my ex-girlfriend is when I sort of went in my next phase where I actually did it decently by myself and got laid, which I'm happy to kind of quickly breeze over. But I decided I was watching this podcast where they said, just go out 30 days, talk to girls every day, just tried number clothes, this and that. I had no structure. I was in university and went out and just did that 30 days in a row with nobody, basically. It was just by myself. I was like, fuck it, I'll figure this out. And I kept an Excel sheet. It was 77 approaches. And I got laid on one of the last ones. And I ended up like dating that girl for years once again. And then after that is when I met Mr. Robert.
That's already when we met. So you had one day game late before we met. Actually, going out for 30 days straight, that's a crazy achievement. It took me, because the first goal I set for myself was, well, after overcoming the initial AA, but kind of the first approach, it was to go out every day for a week. And it took me, I don't know how many weeks, definitely more than a month, to have a week where I did an approach every day. Going out for every day for a month, that's pretty impressive, man. That's really, really cool. So, okay, so you did around 70-ish approaches to get your first play. That's actually very, very good. But, you're a fun dude. You're sort of, you know how to talk to people. You could say you're outgoing, I guess, but that's a pretty quick first day game. That's really cool. Okay, so when we met, you had moved to San Francisco, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I'd moved to San Francisco. I'd actually done a little bit of day game. So I did get a few more notches before talking to you over like, yeah, it wasn't many. I forget exactly how many, but it was a few. But it was just so not reproducible. It was just, it was like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And I believe, yeah, we met in 2020 when I was like, I kept kicking myself like I have to just fucking do this and do it properly. And yeah, chose
But
obviously the hardest city and the hardest time. But yeah,
yeah, 'cause that was before COVID, right? Or during COVID?
it was super early COVID, like, within the first
Super
like
early
couple
COVID.
months.
Yeah. Okay. So how easy was it for you after moving to San Francisco to kind of put in decent volume? Because that's one of the first things people have to learn is like, okay, look, going out consistently. How was that?
That was actually one of the toughest things for me personally. And so in that 30-day challenge I did, for example, I think the most sets I ever did in one day was like 5, maybe. Not even that. I could go look at it. It's probably 3 or 4. And so wrapping my head around that was one of the tough parts. I really just didn't know what I was doing. I was going to these like, small little areas where you could probably, only get 2 or 3 sets. Like that's all you could do. And that's what I was doing for a while. And of course, getting like no results. I mean, I would never really get warmed up or anything. It was just sort of like gambling. And I'd have to do so many sets. It would take forever just to get a lay. It was, because you weren't learning anything. You weren't really getting in volume. You were never like warmed up. You were sort of in your head the whole time. And so, yeah, getting volume took a while. It took talking to you, actually. And that's when we did this, like, at that time you had, remember, it was like a 4-week sort of challenge that was kind of this little PDF you had where you're just like, yeah, do this, this, and this. And we checked in every now and then. And I did it,
Oh yeah, it was
and
like a 4-week AA thing for like it was like super cheap, right? Or was it
yeah,
free?
yeah.
It was like
It
super
was
cheap and like €100 or something.
It was something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Way, way back. And I did that. And it was like one of the toughest challenge was you were like, dude, just don't be a pussy. Go get 10, go get 10 in an hour. Like, and I was like, fuck. And during COVID, that was particularly hard too, but I found a place where I could do it. And I was just like, dude, I just approached everything basically to get it. And then that's how I kind of learned to get the volume in. Yeah. It was the
Sorry,
only
it's
way,
just
man.
hilarious. Don't be a pussy. You just go to 10 in 2 hours.
But I think
That
you
is
knew I'd be okay and receptive of that kind of.
Yeah, because I don't say shit like that unless I know the student can manage it. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that's how you got to doing volume. What was the next thing you had to deal with? So the first challenge was okay, putting in volume. What happened after that?
Dude, so I still remember this actually. So there was no structure to anything I was doing. So I developed a lot of bad habits in that 30-day challenge and like the sessions I did after that, which weren't that many. But I think because I got a few notches doing stupid things, despite having to do tons and tons of sets, I built a lot of really bad habits. A few things I look back on that make me cringe. It's like I was very jokey in sets. Like it was kind of like, haha, friendly. Second thing is there was no order or structure. Like I would go from like a compliment to just like some random shit. Like not even looking for a hook point, then going back to another stack. And then, yeah, it was a mess. It was a complete freaking mess.
So how did
And
you fix that?
You helped me. I remember
Uh,
that's when I was like, yeah, I wasn't getting any, wasn't getting consistent results, didn't understand what I was doing. And I remember we got on a call um for a coaching call, and you listened to one of my sets, and it was it was funny. Yeah. You kind of called out, you're like, dude, like, you got potential, but, and he highlighted, like, here you're giving a compliment, then you're going into like some story, then you're giving another compliment, and then you're like stacking. I don't know, it was just like a complete mess, and you're the one who kind of spelled it out for me, because I thought I was like, it's funny. I mean, I knew I wasn't doing well, but I thought I was good back then. It was hilarious. Anyways, and so you called it out, and that's when I really started to like try and learn the structured approach that you teach, which is really sort of what got me into the next phase. It took me a while to learn it, though. It's interesting. Like I think I mentioned this before.
did
Sorry.
you
Yeah.
learn it before we met for infield coaching, or was it during, or did you kind of polish it afterwards?
I really polished it afterwards. It was really from infield where it like got beat into me. Yeah, where when it, like, it really became more apparent structure, I would say. But
Yeah.
I didn't really truly understand. I mean, someone could tell you the structure and stuff like that, but it's something, at least for me, that was not. It only became clear experientially. Like I had to experience it. I had to go through the motions, get a lot of volume in with that in mind, and it's kind of like when you're putting a puzzle together, right? Like first you're just sort of putting a few pieces that kind of stick together. And you do that a few times. You're like, okay, I know this little area, what this looks like. I know this little area, what this kind of looks like. And as you put more and more pieces together, the picture becomes more clear to you. You kind of know what you're looking at. There's still gaps in it. And then you continue to fill it out until it becomes like this really clear picture. And I think that's kind of an analogy for at least my personal evolution in that sense. Where at first it was like, okay, I kind of get this part of it, like the stacking part. I think I was good at teasing. I was actually really good, I think, at coming up with random shit on the spot too, uh, which I know was bad at the time, but is good for me now. And then I was good at like, I think my voice and pacing were really good, and that helped me out. But then there's a lot of things that I didn't understand. I really didn't. And like storytelling, oh my God, dude, I didn't get that for the longest fucking time. Like I didn't really understand. Like I know what a story is. I know how to storytell, but I didn't understand why I was supposed to storytell the way I was supposed to in a set. And like that was the piece of the puzzle that took the longest time to understand. But now, after understanding it, when I hear another guy's sets, it's like the first thing I notice where I'm like, oh my God, just bad choices, frankly, is like what I see there so often. And stories to know, like just so many things. But once you get it, it's not hard at all. It's just like you understand why you're doing it, so you don't have to think about it.
Let me ask you out of curiosity, because I have my take on this, but if we had all the skills you need for day game, like, and we ranked them from the most important to least important, where do you think storytelling would be?
I think for me, it was is one basically. I mean, like you need
Yeah.
the other stuff, of course, too, but without that, nothing. Like that's most of the pieces of that puzzle, in the
Yeah.
sense, like you
But
can't.
what was the hardest thing for you to learn?
Yeah, storytelling. Jesus, man, that was tough.
That's what I always
Yeah,
say is the most important but hardest skill in day game is storytelling.
yeah.
I literally have people right now joining the online coaching program simply telling me, hey, like I'm here for storytelling. Like I understand everything else, just teach me that. But okay, so you learn a bit more structured game that I assume starts to bringing you some more consistent results, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It brought me really good results at that. Like it was kind of a switch when I really started to learn it. I mean, learning all the other stuff too, it definitely increased my open delay. Like I did have a couple streaks that were pretty good, but then it was when I really learned storytelling that it was like the floodgates opened, and I was getting way like the biggest switch was just getting way more dates. At that point it was, I would get a date. I mean, since then, basically it's been like one every, let's say 15 to 25 approaches, like basically one or two a week if I'm being consistent out there. And even better, it's sometimes like there's a spree where I was doing a lot less. I would do like 10 sets a week, and I would get a date every time almost. And so anyways, it was the biggest game changer because it, I mean, it's your way of building attraction, really. I mean, like you're building small amounts of everything else, but you're really grounding it and giving her like an idea of who you are. It's your opportunity
Okay.
to do a good job of it, both ground and
S-
build attraction. Yeah.
So things are starting to work. You're getting some numbers. how responsive are they? The number are
After storytelling, very good. Like
okay.
very, very few flaky numbers. And it's this is funny, but I was talking to Mr. T about this in the chat, and I was like, uh in your inner circle chat, I'm like, I love the guys in there, but when I look at the texting chat, sometimes I lose my shit. Because I'm like, I just see a lot of effort being put in, and you shouldn't be doing that. You should just have a very structured, short system, 3, 4 texts that you do basically the same thing every time. Excluding extenuating circumstances like she's going on vacation or she has to go house sit her friend's cat 2 hours away or whatever it is. Those things, then it's like, sure, fine, you can go into like other little topics, but otherwise just keep it to the point and short. No, none of this like male-minded communication. Like, keep it short, just follow the rules. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's fine. If you did a good set, it doesn't matter really. Your texting as just don't make any mistakes is all it really comes down to at that point.
Yeah. That's very well put. Yeah, because the idea is what I try to tell to guys is you can save a bad number with good texting, but
Yep.
you can easily fuck up a good number with bad texting.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
just don't fuck up. That's it. Like that's as far as like I think texting is just that important. Like, it's just, yeah, don't fuck it up. Okay, so you're putting in volume, you're getting numbers, you're getting some dates, something's starting to happen. So what's the next challenge? Are you getting late here? Like, what's happening? What's a challenge that you're faced at that moment when you're starting to get solid numbers?
So yeah, I'd say like I was getting laid the whole time, but I was getting better at it in the sense that like there's a few things that I developed by just getting more dates that seem to have like not gone away, which is just sort of an abundance mindset. I know it's like a very overused term, but basically just like the true belief that I absolutely don't need the person sitting in front of me. Like, I don't need her at all. That in its own, I think, just like flips a switch where really stopped having to try on dates. I think the switch that happened at this point, it's a good question you ask, is I used to be like really trying on dates. And what I mean by this is I would really, if I'm being totally honest, it's kind of cringe. It's funny, but I would really think about what I'm going to wear. I really think about all these things before the date and like what I'm going to do. Uh, After I really started to get like high volumes of dates with girls I was really interested in, like really, it's kind of funny actually. By San Francisco standards, very hot girls. Somewhere else, maybe not as good, but by their like, I'm kidding, but they were actually all pretty cute. And yeah, just not caring. And in the sense of what I mean is like just not trying too hard to pull all the time. Like, you're not. I think when you're really trying, you're just trying to pull, 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 pull. You know what I mean? Like, you're always trying to. You need their validation during the date. You need to know that they're interested. Whereas if you just don't fucking care, it doesn't matter really. And that in itself just makes them more attracted. And anyways, I guess what I'm getting at is I stopped trying to like kiss onto venues and shit, because I was just like, okay, this is like, I knew it was pointless, and I had the confidence to just know that it didn't matter. And I could read their attraction level much better. I could know, even if there wasn't like, yeah, even if it wasn't just totally obvious, let's say to someone sitting across from us, I would know, and I could sort of gauge it, and I could know, yeah, that if I got them back to my place, I could make something happen. And so I think that was the biggest switch that went off when I really got volume, because before that, it was like I was really trying on every day because I wanted it to work.
Okay, so you're getting dates, you're going to stop caring about getting laid, you're sort of not needy anymore, basically, because you have like this proper mindset of abundance. You don't have to fake it till you make it anymore, because you kind of made it. You're getting dates all the time, you're going for the kiss all the time. What else did you have to figure out about dates?
I think like basically making sure your place is set up for like the pull. And so I bought this little fucking couch. It was just like only 2 people could sit on it. It was great. And that one really helped out actually, because they like there was no choice. They couldn't like sit across the room, none of this. And so that really helped. But there was that, and then just, yeah, like really building a good understanding of what to do and not being so needy when you're back at your place. Like, don't just overwhelm them. Chill out, give them some space at first, and don't just not pulling so hard. I used to just do that. Like, I used to always pull, like not enough push. And it was something that sort of got much better calibrated going forward. But other things, for example, so my place, what I love about it and why it helps me get laid is I'm a musician. I hand build my own guitars. I have them on display. I bring them up during the date. It's just like very easy to get them to come back to like look at those or whatever, or play some music. And what I'll usually do is we'll hang out for a bit. We'll have some tea. Maybe like a little bit of escalation, but then like break off, like, hey, you know what? Like, sort of break some of that tension, go play some music. And then basically after that, I don't necessarily ever have to do anything at that point. Like, it's a cheap trick, man. And I kind of make fun of myself for it because I'm over reliant on it. It's part of my storytelling. It's part of my closing. It's like, dude, if I didn't play guitar, I would probably still be in the chat with these long texts I'm sending girls and 5 photo pings. So
Yeah,
I
but that's how you get to an intermediate level. Like getting to an good intermediate level means, okay, you know all the fundamentals, but you develop your own style. You find, hey, what am I really, really good at? And if for you that's guitar, and fuck, use it. Like that's how you get to that. That's how you get laid really consistently. The only problem is it works on like certain types
Yep,
of girls. You develop, you find
exactly.
your type, and then you're
Yeah.
stuck with that type, and it's really
Yeah.
hard. Like you're like, hey, why doesn't my game work on other types of girls? Well, it's because you're a one-trick pony. You know your guitar,
Yeah.
or for me, like I know, like I just I had this like when I pulled, it was obvious what I was pulling for, and or I used to pull a lot. I still do. When I pull, I would pull for like I would literally pull for bondage.
Jesus.
It's like, because I would
Man.
find, just as you found ways to talk about the guitar, I found ways to talk about bondage and how it's like so artistic, and it lets you connect with the person like without necessarily doing anything more, and you kind of separate it from sex, and then I would just say, hey, listen, if we agree that it doesn't have to, if we agree that it doesn't mean we have to do anything more, I really want to kind of tie you up. Let's go to my place. It's like, oh yeah, okay.
Dude, that's so funny. Oh my God.
So, so okay, you're getting laid consistently with your guitar skills, which by the way are incredible. Either the time when you played the guitar when I was at your place, either you were really good or we were really really high.
I think
Uh,
it's both, dude.
it's both. I still remember how I booked the wrong flight to like my return flight from Argentina for like the wrong month just because I
Yeah.
was too high.
My God. Yeah, I remember that. That was hilarious.
So, okay, so how do you go from there to not being a one-trick pony and actually being able to do good with very different types of women?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I still rely on that a lot, and I think it does translate to a lot of different types of girls. However, I vary up the other kinds of stories. The guitar story, it's never going anywhere. It gets into every conversation because I think universally from what I've seen, like especially through Daygame and is that they all respond to that pretty well. I mean, I think every girl loves a musician, honestly. Makes them think of John Mayer or some guy they really like, And I think every girl wants to tell their friends, the guy they're banging or their boyfriend, whatever, plays guitar. Like seriously, like it's just like they think it's cool. I mean, I do too, but who cares what I think? It's about what they think, and they definitely dig that. But varying up the other stories. And so I rambled a lot there. But yeah, so when I think about what I have in my back pocket, other than that, I did a lot of traveling for skiing in my life. Like I've gone to a lot of ski resorts. I know that. And that's generally, I'm kind of mapping this to San Francisco for a moment here. So there's this area called like the Marina District. We went there.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of cute girls there. They're very, it's like, it's a challenging, it's a deceptively challenging area because for one, most of them are taken. They're like very coupled up. Two, the bar is very, very high. And so like most of these people are like Stanford MBAs, they went to these sort of elite schools and there's a little bit of elitism in their general attitude. And so anyway, skiing is sort of like an elitist sport. And so I usually try and bring that up over there because it'll usually be like a shared interest and you can storytell on that and you can kind of make fun of them because I know all the stereotypes of sitting in the hot tub all day pretending to ski because they want to anyways, shit like that. You can go that way. And so it's sort of like mapping your stories to what kind of girl you're gonna run into or what kind of girl you can kind of cold read she is. So skiing is one thing. And I know it's kind of funny. I mean, initially I always stayed away from this, but I've learned to use it more is going into like more of like my analytical side. It could be of a benefit with like nerdier girls. I mean, you can go into some cool topics, and if you're a smart guy, you could probably storytell about whatever they're doing. If you've like read up on it and stuff like that, you learn more about different topics. You can kind of, there's sort of like domain specific teases you can put in there. And I can't think of any like good ones off the top of my head at the moment, but it's definitely one thing you can do. Like, especially if a girl, like any girl who's like a coder or was, I guess they're all getting fired now. But, it's easy to make fun of those. I've run into a bunch of them. It's, they're drinking caffeine all day, 50 tabs open, all kinds of stuff like that. If they're a chemist, because I've been a chemist my whole life, that one's kind of easy. It's just like a lot of guys, don't try and use what I'm saying here unless you're a chemist, but there's a lot of stuff you can say about that. General stuff is like Breaking Bad, just all those stupid little references, but you can really riff off of it after is the point. Like you just want to get the conversation started. My famous yoga story always helps too. If they do that, I actually like yoga, and so I'm happy to talk about that. But it's sort of just like you could kind of cold read what a girl will respond to. Just at least for me, based off of how she dresses. Is she high maintenance? Is she more of like a hipster? If she's high maintenance, I lean into more sort of like skiing and like almost like status driven stories in some way without really trying to make it that. And then obviously if she's like looks like a cool chick, you could go into like way better topics like just general traveling and the guitar stuff, really leaning into that and getting into like what they do artistically because they usually have something. And it develops just really solid grounding for me personally, especially if we can get into art. I mean, it always leads to something really good.
Okay, so it sounds like first you started. Was there a specific type you were doing good with in the beginning and then you expanded, or were you doing good with all of these types of girls that you just described just by doing the same stuff?
It's actually either with initially. It was like sort of like the high maintenance type initially, but that's really not my type at all. And after I developed a better skill set, a better toolkit, I started to do better with like more, just like not hipsterish, I would say, but just like more like cooler, more laid back girls is really where I do well with, and just foreign women in general. Like I really, really love girls from either Latin America, I really like sort of the Middle East. Actually, I really love girls from the Middle East, like Lebanon, Iran, sort of that area. I think they respond well to it, and they just love like masculine energy over there a little bit more. And I like their energy, I like their vibe. Yeah. And so like now it's kind of like the cool girl from one of those places is typically where I really, really succeed. And I think it's also just because I really like hanging out with them. Whereas I can go to the Marina District in San Francisco and get numbers and then like get them out. It's lower numbers over there. But anyways, I can get them out, but I don't really enjoy myself. It's like this really American, like status driven conversation. No offense to anybody from the US, but it's just like very much about winning and losing, and not just like, you can't just have fun playing with ideas like you can with some of these other girls. I think, that kind of energy makes me have fun, and then makes them have fun too.
Do you care about banging these Marina girls, or you're like,
No.
okay, yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. Because guys, when they start day gaming, they imagine this, the typical Instagram girl,
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
and they want to bang that, and that's their goal. But at least for me, the experience was like I banged a few of those, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's not
Exactly.
like. But you gotta do it. You gotta
Yes.
because otherwise you will have that itch. It's like banging your first whatever chick who's like let's say she's a sugar baby, and like she's milking all the guys for money, but you just bang her because she wants to bang you, or like some OnlyFans chicks, some chicks who do webcams. Like it's always fun to do that, but
Yep.
it's like checking like, okay, I've done that, I've done this. But then you kind of discover what's the type of a girl that you really enjoy spending time with. Who do you really want to actually, Okay, so
Yeah.
right now in the story, you're at the level where you're getting laid a lot, you're getting laid absolutely consistently. What do you feel is the next step in your evolution at that point? Is there anything, because it sounds like, at this point of the story, you're doing really, really good. Is there like a, do you want, at that moment, do you want to keep doing the same thing? Is there like a new urge coming up to do something else? What's happening with you in your mind?
Yeah.
I know you didn't tell me this in the notes, but I know a lot of the guys, like when they get to that level, they're like, okay, like they start thinking, what do I actually want?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting actually. Like I do such less volume now. I don't like I can, I'll be getting lunch and I'll see a girl. And so right now the way I'm operating is because SF, it's just not fun to go out anymore, frankly. Like I've lost the joy in it. I just do it opportunistically. And I have basically a set of rules where if she's my type, like, it kind of checks like boxes 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like, let's say she looks like a cool chick. I personally like darker hair, lighter features. If she kind of fits that mold, like looks like a Latina chick or something like that, or a Middle Eastern chick, but looks cool. Then I'm like, well, I have to go. Doesn't matter if I'm wearing sweatpants or whatever. Just go. Like, no excuses. Just do it. And right now, it's more just about making sure I'm always building the habit of just approaching the girls I'm genuinely interested in and like no more practicing. I mean, there's no real point in that. It's not a good use of my time to go out and charge the streets in SF for 2 hours on a weeknight or something like that. It's just because you're mostly seeing stuff you don't want in a way. And it's also just not a very Mr. T called it a day game desert when he was there. It's just not a good spot to like spend a lot of time day gaming if you don't have to. For learning, if you're there and you have to learn, you can absolutely learn there. There is sufficient volume. You can go to some places. And it's funny, in this last year, I've had so many guys come up to me on the street and be like, oh shit, like I didn't know anyone does this here. And asking me to like help them out. Yeah, it can be a little annoying actually, but I try and help people out, at least answer some questions and stuff. But so many guys have asked me like, oh, how about you come and take a game with me? I'm like, why? But yeah, yeah. Anyways, that's kind of where I'm at now, and just getting out of San Francisco. So I got a remote job. Actually, I worked, busted my ass off to get out of my old industry. Got myself a remote job in which, if you're a technical guy who day games, dude, you can go into sales and do very, very, very well. And so, anyways, doing that now. I've only had this for about a month, this job, and I'm gonna move to a much better area of the US to continue doing this with it,
Nice.
just better logistics, better everything.
Very nice. Yeah. And then, as I told you, I'm going to be in a wonderful place in January. Come visit. We're going to have some fun. It's one of my favorite places for day gaming in the world. I tell my students that if you can't get laid there, you're not going to get laid anywhere. No, literally. Like I literally tell it to people because I really like it's just a place that's it's full of people who are there to have some fun, and then chicks are like, it's like the world's capital of same day lays, I would say. Yeah. So okay. Is there anything else that, looking at your past, like any other challenges that you think are worth talking about that you had to overcome that you think guys could learn from?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think so. Here's one thing. I think just in general, these are the two things I see when guys are asking me for help sometimes that seem to be a recurring theme. One is obviously storytelling. And so just to give my quick take on it, I know Robert has great takes too, but I think it's good to maybe hear a few other perspectives, is your stories should be chosen for a few reasons. It's not to tell a fun story. The reasons you're telling a story is to give her the opportunity to see an attractive side of yourself and steer the conversation in that direction so you can look good. And of course, sparking emotion, all those other things. And when it comes to texting, I think it's the one part that like frustrates me the most, when I just see these text conversations to nowhere, trying really hard, this and that. Stick to one opener. I think Mr. T and I were talking about this the other day too. It's just like always friendly to strangers. Mine is always friendly to strangers or just Canadians. That's my name, and that's it. And it's the reason you're doing that is to see where she's at. You're not trying to impress anybody with a good text. You're trying to see how she actually, like, does she actually like you or give a fuck? And then, assuming she does, and you did a good set because you're now a good storyteller because you worked with Robert, it's just a matter of like basically moving towards logistics at that point. Like if you could tell she's interested, you know you had a good set. Why the fuck would you say anything else? Why are you sending her pictures? Just go straight to like, hey, you should have closed strong and you should have suggested something, maybe even a spot, and just start moving towards that. And it should all be done in 4 messages. And so, anyways, those are the two things that drive me nuts that I see a lot, where it's like your stories aren't about anything, and then your texting isn't about anything.
So
Just
you're texting, do you ping at all, or like do you do zero pinging?
zero. Unless
Okay.
let's say they're on vacation, but it's rare because I don't usually have to. I usually just get them out in a few days, and it's like 4 texts, and that's it.
Well, feeler text and then straight into date request, or
No, I can send you one, but it's basically I'll go feeler text. If she responds well, I'll say one of a few things. If it's like really, really well, I'll be like, I'll do the classic. Oh yeah, one of two things maybe. Like, forgot to ask, do you like cocktails or do you like this? Like, what kind of place do you like? And then after that, suggest a place. Like, so that's 3. The 4 message version is playing off of her first text and then going into that, and then the date request, basically, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would add like at least one ping. That's all that I would add. It's like,
okay.
But that's there's so many ways to do this, and especially US is a little different. Like in US, people get away with much shorter texting. Like, and I know a lot of like New York City also people just do like opener date request, like or feeler message date request, and that's it.
Wow.
And
okay.
it works. Or like like kind of what you do, like one more message and then without pinging, without anything, just boom, date request. Yeah, because we did it differently, but yeah, the texting has changed to where people do where the texting is much shorter nowadays. People don't do any like back and forth, blah blah blah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else that you think is worth talking about? Like any challenges, any kind of really big lessons that guys could learn from, or
Yeah, one is, I guess, like, well, I guess I didn't mention this in our conversation, but one thing I did that was kind of funny is like my evolution of my style was I dressed like myself. Then, when I was trying really hard, I dressed like your typical day gamer. And now I've moved back to something in between. I took what was good about what I learned about sort of style and dressing like a day gamer and applied it to what I really feel like is natural. And I think that it's subtle, but that stuff helps because you're just being yourself, and girls are really good at reading that. So I'd say, make sure you dress well. Talk to Robert, talk to a stylist if you have to, but if he says you should too, just listen to him. But make sure you're being yourself too, like you're sort of true to who you are. Because I think I probably just looked very inauthentic in hindsight during that time. Wearing the leather jacket and the boots and stuff. It's like that's just not how I dress, and it's not really congruent with me. So I don't know if that's really that helpful, but I thought I'd just say that.
Oh, it is like you have to have a good style, but not everyone has to do the same thing. Back in the day, everyone was doing the leather jacket, boots, ripped jeans. It was like a day gamer uniform. It was kind of funny. Like if you saw a guy talking to a chick on the street and you were not sure whether they're friends or it's a day game, so you just look at how he looks and it's like, okay, yeah, like this dude is a day gamer. And very nice, dude. This was, I think. Well, let's hope this was very helpful. Let's see what people say, but I think this was very helpful. Looking at the notes you sent me, there's probably, we're probably going to do some more stuff where we talk specifically about maybe the journey you took step by step to figure out how to get laid on dates, kind of from fucking up many days to exactly step by step how we were getting laid. I think that's another conversation we can have. It's like a pretty interesting thing that we could do. Probably another conversation we could have is kind of delving deeper into, okay, so how did you go to getting laid with different types of chicks? Like how did you figure out kind of these like nerdy chicks, artsy chicks, and kind of all of that? And I think there's something to be done there as well. But that's a bit of a different topic. So I think let's leave that for a separate conversation. Dude, thanks a lot for doing this. You're definitely someone who is went from absolutely doing your first sets to right now like a very good advanced day gamer who's really getting laid with very different types of chicks and got to a place where you know what you want, like most day gamers, by the way, who got really really good. They're sort of get to a place where they're like, okay, I'm done with just like putting in sick volume and getting laid left and right. Let me figure out what I actually want in life, what type of girls, and they make day game sort of like part of their, they approach as part of their everyday life, not with dedicated day game sessions. But you have to get there, and thinking about that before you get to like 30, maybe in more lays, is I think ridiculous, of course, but you're definitely
Yeah.
at that level. That's really good, man. I'm really glad to see this. And then thank you for doing this.
Yeah, dude, thank you, man. It's always fun talking to you, and maybe we'll do another one in PDC, dude. I got to go look at flights now. I got a lot of
Yes.
points, so I can make it out there pretty cheap.
Perfect. Well, I'll see you then, man.
Awesome, dude. Well, hey, take care, my man.
If this interview inspires you to get coaching, then as I said, I still have one coaching spot left in January in Mexico. I'm not planning to do any more trips in 2026 to Mexico, USA, Canada, or anywhere else in that part of the world. So if you're interested in learning closer to US, if you're from there, then this is your chance. You can find all the details about how coaching usually works, the approximate pricing, and schedule a call to talk details. All that you'll find in a link in description. That's it for this time. See you in the next podcast episode. Ciao, guys.